Now, insurance is a really interesting aspect. So again, we're mainly talking about the United Kingdom or countries where therapy is regulated. We've been working with BGI, who's an international insurance provider, for a number of years, looking at policy development, course development, and making sure that our courses, both face-to-face and online, are accessible to manual therapists and they can gain insurance. But what happens if you step outside of that scope of practice? So we were discussing with BGI what their recommendations were for therapists in order to keep themselves safe. And there's a little information table in the subsequent PDF following from this video. Some of the salient points, though, are, as a therapist, it is imperative that you have good, up-to-date insurance. If you are doing physical therapy in your clinic room, you need to have insurance. If you're an allied health professional and your insurance lapses, that is a breach, and you can end up being prosecuted if you don't have any valid insurance for a period of time. So make sure your insurance is up to date, it's valid, and read the small print and make sure it's fit for purpose, because some insurance companies won't allow you to use certain techniques. They won't allow you to use techniques in certain situations. Make sure you're fully aware of what you can do and what you can't do. Also, from an insurance perspective, you are only insured for the techniques that you are trained to do. The techniques that you have gone on a course, whether that be an online course, a face-to-face course, an educational program, you've completed that program satisfactorily and you have a certificate of competence. That then means you are competent and qualified to do that technique in clinical practice. If you look at techniques on social media and you decide to try them in your clinical practice and something goes wrong, your insurance will be null and void. You are on your own. The insurance company will say, not our problem. Only do techniques that are in your scope of practice and techniques that you are qualified to do. Another point of interest is only use physical therapy techniques within a professional setting. That may be a treatment room, a sports environment, an environment where you are doing a professional treatment. If you are in a pub, in a club, at a party, showing off in a shopping centre, and you see this on social media all the time, these therapists doing techniques to members of the public or outside of a clinic room, you are not insured. The insurance company will not touch you. Your policy will be void. If you are doing things outside of that professional setting, there is no cover for you. Therefore, you are a massive risk if something goes wrong. But also there's a huge professional issue here. Guys, before I do any physical intervention with a patient, I am going to do a full case history. I'm going to do a full discussion process, a full shared decision-making process. You cannot do that if you are outside of a clinic room in a social environment. You are putting yourself from a medico-legal perspective at risk. You're also putting yourself professionally at risk. This also comes into things like social media. If you are posting treatment advice, differential diagnosis on social media to people that are not your physical clients or people that you have not done a proper case history on, your insurance will not cover you. Also, you have a very grey area on whether you're actually legally and ethically allowed to do that from a professional governing body. There are incidences, for example, when allied health professions have given advice over social media and then have been prosecuted by their governing body. Do not give advice on social media to random people unless they are your clients and you have given a full and thorough case history. Do not touch a person, therapeutically speaking, outside of your professional clinical setting. Because guys, you will find that if you do, your insurances potentially will be null and void. If your paperwork is not up to scratch and you haven't followed basic case history procedures, your insurance can be null and void. There are massive issues here. Guys, Ultimately, we need insurance, we need protection, because we live in a society of where there's blame, there's a claim, which means you have to look after yourself at all times. Make sure your insurance is up to date. Make sure it's fit for purpose. Only do the techniques that you are qualified to do, that are within your scope of practice. If the technique is without or outside of your scope of practice, refer the person to someone else. Only perform therapeutic techniques within a professional environment, and do not give out personal or diagnostic information via social media, because you will find yourself steering yourself into potentially dangerous waters. Guys, check, make sure your insurance is up to date, make sure you are only using the techniques you are trained to do, and document everything down. Because remember, from an insurance perspective, if it isn't written down, it never happened. The more you write down, the better protected you are.